Hey there everyone, welcome back to another Game Vault video. As always, I'm Captain Beefy with the Game Vault, and we're going to talk about this Cal Poly Gender Inclusive Gaming Club. And something that just popped up on my screen, and I found it kind of interesting. And I'm not here to dunk on these people or anything like that, don't get it twisted in that manner. But I do want to talk about this and just got some questions, and maybe we can have a discussion about this sort of thing. So let's cue up the music and we'll get right to it. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and read this article, and I will link to it down below. This is from mustangnews.net. Fitting in and feeling comfortable has never been easy. Struggling to find an identity surrounded by people who just do not understand, always feeling like the odd one out, it's a challenge to find a place of true belonging. Cal Poly's Gender Inclusive Gaming, also known as GIG, aims to provide this type of safe space for people who feel out of place. Formed in 2021, the club members value their tight-knit community and try to provide an open and comfortable environment for anyone looking to join. And it's not only for gamers. Creating a space where anyone who identifies as anything, who plays anything from the cozy to the psychologically terrifying, is something that GIG welcomes with open arms. Wafika Farhana, I hope I got that right, a junior computer science major and president of GIG, said, "It can be difficult to find people to connect with if you feel like you have interest too niche or an identity too ostracized." Farhana said creating a safe environment for press groups is a key motto in the club. In the gaming community specifically, they make up a much smaller percentage compared to other standard groups like men and women. In a recent survey by GLAAD, a nonprofit LGBTQ advocacy organization, less than 2% of all games feature LGBTQ characters or storylines, while about 1 in 5 American gamers identify in that way. Additionally, GLAAD found that 72% of LGBTQ gamers say that seeing game characters with their sexual orientation or gender identity makes them feel better about themselves. When looking at the demographic of those ages 13 to 17, that number increases to 78%. So I have questions right now about these numbers, right? Less than 2% of all games feature LGBTQ characters storylines. Now, I'm not 100% sure. These guys talk about video games or whatnot. I mean, I would assume this is about video games, right? And if that's the case, that number may be accurate throughout the history of games, if you go all the way back to, the beginning of video games. But if you look at recent years, I guarantee you that number is skewed way, way, way in the opposite direction. It is not 2%. It is probably well over 50% at this point. Now they may not have lead characters that are LGBTQ, but I'm sure there is a side character, a side mission, some kind of something or other in there that touches upon it. Even a game like Stellar Blade, for instance, which I'm playing right now, there's none of that going on. There's no LGBTQ storylines or anything like that, but you do have one character named Roxanne, another woman, who hits on Eve pretty much constantly, to the point where Eve has to tell her, hey, stop that, because it's making her feel uncomfortable. So I'm really curious to see if that is where they get that number from. These advocacy organizations, whether it be Black Lives Matter, GLAAD, whatever, they always skew numbers in their favor to create, statistics to match their agenda or whatever. It's the way it goes. And it's not that hard to do. But then they say that 1 in 5 American gamers identify as being LGBTQ. I highly doubt that. I mean, really. You may have found a small demographic that's like that. Maybe a small, and did a small survey in a big city, something like that. I don't know, but that can't be true. No, I don't believe that one single bit. And 72% of gamers say that seeing game characters with their sexual orientation makes them feel better about themselves. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'm not, I am, and I told you, I'm not gonna dunk on people, but I am quote unquote normal, right? I'm not part of that lifestyle in any way, shape, or form. So for me, seeing a straight male character doesn't make me feel better about myself. Seeing a straight female, whatever, None of that makes me feel better. In fact, no character in a video game makes me feel better about myself. I enjoy playing a game, and I do enjoy playing certain characters more than others. I'd rather play certain types of characters, And anyway, let's move on. Bowie Cohen, a freshman public health major who serves as the publicist for the club, says GIG leans more toward casual gaming and does not revolve around one specific game, unlike the other gaming clubs on campus. Additionally, Farhana said that one of the more fun and engaging aspects of the club is PowerPoint parties, where a prompt is put on the screen, such as romance or horror. Participants can then have an open discussion about that prompt, whether they have an interesting story about it or can recommend a game in that genre. It's just nice to have this niche thing you're into, and then people like to listen to you present and talk about it, Farhana said. So the club's like an umbrella for everyone who likes an interest in anything compared to other clubs who are very niche. Okay. However, GIG continues to struggle in terms of getting as much respect and fairness as other clubs on campus. Cohen, who attended the Esports Council meeting, remembers the atmosphere of the room when GIG came up to present. So the Esports Council meeting, this makes me think this is video games for sure. I guess this is a picture from the club there. They were looked down upon. It was really hurtful to see so many people laughing or talking, and I was in the crowd. I could hear people talking bad about the club. As someone who was interested in the club, it was really disheartening, Cohen said. The feeling of exclusion and not being on the same level causes many members in the club to feel not normal, according to Farhana. And the historical exclusion of LGBT members and other oppressed groups, specifically in gaming, continues to be an issue due to the lack of representation and involvement. Although Valorant and Overwatch have made strides toward resolving this issue by releasing non-binary playable characters, the state of gaming continues to be male-dominated. And unfortunately, the state of gaming is always going to be male-dominated, okay? That's where it is. And here's the thing. When you have a game that is male-dominated, or something that is male-dominated, it needs to cater to that. And this is part of the problem in modern gaming, right? No offense to these people, because I respect them for what they're doing, creating their own little club and all that, and having a place where they can hang out and all. Good on you. I hope it brings you joy and peace and all that. But pushing that into the mainstream, into gaming, you are a niche group. You are a small group of people. You are a percentage of a percentage. And why are so many companies catering to you, And when they do, the backlash is inevitable because, quote-unquote, normal people don't want to see that. They don't want non-binary characters. They don't, they don't want pronouns. They don't want any of that kind of stuff. And it's not because they hate people like this, because, that's not the case. But they hate having it pushed on them at all times. Now, I have some thoughts on this that we'll go over toward the end of this, but let's move on here. In my opinion, fixing a lot of this exclusivity you see in gaming culture needs to come from the gaming industry itself. Sarah Kula, a sophomore architectural engineering major who has been a member of the club for the past 2 years, said, normalizing that gaming isn't just a male-only activity. And it's not. It's absolutely not. But what is normal is having games that cater to certain people. There are games that are going to cater to men, okay? Whether it be, a fighting game or, these first-person shooters, stuff like that. They tend to attract mainly male audiences, and they should continue to focus on that. Just because a couple people out there who are not men want to play a game doesn't mean we have to change the game to accommodate them. They can just enjoy the game as it is. Well, you know what? You like this game, you like this game. Now, we can have games for other people. You can have games that are LGBTQ based. I mean, I played through Chia last year. And yeah, it was last year, yeah. And here's the thing that really upset me about that game. So, we all talk about representation. You only want to play games that have a white male character and all that. Well, when Chia came out, it was a little freebie on the PlayStation Network. I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this game out. It looks cute. It took place in New Caledonia or something like that it's called, which I guess is a French-occupied island over near New Zealand area and all that, Australia. So it's like the territory over there that's populated by the French. There are indigenous people there and a big French presence, so forth and so on. They were in the news recently because they're a little upset the way the laws are changing and how they're going to be represented by their government. But that's a whole different tangent. But I started playing this game, and I was like, I didn't play it because I identified as the main character, who happened to be, she looked to be like an 11-year-old native girl, right? An indigenous girl from that area. That's not why I played it. I played it because, well, this is kind of a cute game, and it had an interesting concept, and it was very unique in a lot of ways. And I was fine with that. That was a natural representation of gaming right there. And then all of a sudden, they introduced another character, and this was a little white girl, and she had like that skin disorder, Vitaglia, whatever it's called, and she and her like fell in love with each other and kissed, and here's the 11-year-old child, right? And it just really threw me off. And you had cosmetics you could get in the game. You had to buy them in the game from different shops. It wasn't for cash. It was for in-game stuff that you traded in for them. And I go to one place, and they had a whole plethora of flags, the LGBT flags, all these different ones, and they were all free. Why is that free, but everything else has got to be paid for? Why, it was just, that's the stuff that aggravated me right there. And the game lost its luster at that point. I pushed through it and finished it off, but at that point I was like, ugh. It was just too much, too heavy-handed, and too silly. Why an 11-year-old girl? Why give her that sexual identity at that point, right? It was silly. So anyway, Kula said the gaming industry can be something that breaks down barriers and creates connections when it historically has not. However, it does require these spaces to be safe, which ultimately comes from systemic change in the industry itself. And here we go. It's the demands of the few to change things. Have your club, have fun, enjoy it. You want to play video games? Play video games, but why do you want to change everything to accommodate you? That doesn't make sense, right? That's like saying, let's make every game high contrast for people that can't see color. They're colorblind. So let's do something high contrast for them so certain things will stand out in the game better. And let's just make everybody play that way. Let's make the font extra large for people that can't see that well because, and make it that way for everybody because they can't see that well. To accommodate a small group of people and change an entire game is wrong. And I will stand by that until the end of time. It's like that with movies. It's like that with everything. And this whole modern audience crap, all that. Now, again, I respect these people and, I hope the best for them and all that, but this is the core of the issue right here. Is when you get groups like this together and they start going out there and pushing stuff, it just, it gets out there in the industry, and then, then everybody wants to start accommodating, and everything changes, and everything gets watered down, and it's just not as good as it was. You can't make something for everybody. You're never going to please everybody. I've said that time and time again. But according to an article by Forbes, their 2020 Global Gaming Gender Balance Scorecard found out that out of 144 executives in the top 14 companies, 121 were men. If the important people regarding gaming companies mostly consist of men, it creates a sense of exclusivity and lack of representation for those groups who are not men, Kula said. That's just horseshit. Where this whole everything has to be equal, I don't get where that came from, because it's not the way the world works. You go to a school, most of the teachers are women. You go to a hospital, most of the nurses are women. There are positions in society where men excel and positions where women excel. And that's a fact. And however much you may dislike that, I don't care. It is still a fact. Go to an oil rig and go count every person on there and tally off male and female. You're going to come back with a page full of males and a line of a handful of females. This is the way it is. It's just the way it is, guys. This whole equality thing like that. And it's not that I'm not saying there's no equality out there, but it's this false equality, this false equivalence. It doesn't exist, and it can't exist. Whatever. According to Cohen, the gaming industry is largely influenced by society as a whole, since society sees the industry as a subsection of society overall. Okay? However, Cohen does believe that there are two separate entities and that one does not move forward if the other does not. And while there has been more positive change towards these minority groups of gender and sexuality, Cohen said, society still faces some barriers. The Center for American Progress found that more than 1 in 3 LGBTQ Americans face discrimination of some kind in 2020, including more than 3 in 5 transgender Americans. While change can be recognized and put forward, there still remains a lot of progress to be made. But GIG presents an environment for those who wish to be included regardless of what they're worried about. That shared fear is why this space exists in the first place, is because we wanted to create a space where that doesn't need to concern anymore, where that doesn't need to be a concern anymore, Kula said. And for those interested, there's their Discord. Here's the thing. There's always going to be discrimination against LGBT people in one way or another. It's just going to happen. They've done, it's not the normal thing. And as much as that pisses people off, well, we're normal, no, it's not. Normal is just a normal person that has a family. It's just the way it's been done throughout life. It's what we were designed to do. We each have parts that fit together just right to help the species survive and continue on. Okay? You can't put those parts against the same part and do that. So that is not normal. Normal is the right parts in the right places. It's simple. And no matter how you feel or anything like that, it's not going to make you normal, and and people aren't going to celebrate you. And a lot of people aren't even going to accept you now. Me, I don't care, okay? I never really cared about this stuff. I grew up in the 80s. We had Boy George and Poison and all this other crap out there that, we called each other gay all the time and other words, just messing around and bugging each other. You had the gay kid in school. You teased him and you bugged him, but nobody beat him up or did anything bad. You just gave him a hard time, just like you did everybody else. That's the way it was. There was no safe space back then. I mean, it really wasn't. But as things continued to change and evolve, I remember when rights were being fought for marriage, gay marriage. And, I thought about that when a lot of people are like, and I've always been conservative. And even before a lot of conservative people supported, I was kind of like, I don't have a problem with that, If two people care about each other and want to spend their life together, that's fine. If they want to do it and so they can file taxes together and they could be on each other's insurance or be, power of attorney for someone if they get sick, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now, don't force the church to do it if the church doesn't believe in it, but you can call it marriage, you call it whatever, and let them do it at the court, or if there's a progressive church or some sort that wants to do it, that's fine. You don't have to force everybody to accept it, but allow it to happen, right? Allow it to happen. You want to get married and you want to be each other's beneficiaries and all that? Perfect, great. It doesn't have to be at a church. It could be anywhere else. And I had no problem with that. And then we went down the slippery slope as everything, continued to progress. You saw more and more outward, once the closet doors opened, everything just spilled out. And as social media arose, oh my God, it turned into this absolute nightmare of, it's almost become a freak show at this point, with the stuff that we see out there. We look at these pride parades, right? It's Pride Month this month, and, I don't know why we have a whole month dedicated to Pride. I honestly think this is something that needs to be shut down and needs to be put to it, because it's so funny because you see all these big companies put out their little social media messages and change their icons and all that to be rainbowy. And not a single one of them really gives a shit about LGBT people, right? You understand that, don't you? They're looking to score points. They're looking to make money. If the sandwich shop for 30 days wants to sell an LGBLT and use rainbow colored bread, and they know they're going to sell it, they're going to make money off of it, they're going to sell it. They don't really care. None of them really care. And if you feel like they care, I'm sorry, you're being suckered, because businesses, especially large corporations, don't care about you, they don't care about me, they don't care about anybody but the almighty dollar at the end of the day and their profits. So, think what you will, it doesn't matter, they don't care. So, I don't know. Those are my thoughts on it. It's good for these guys. I hope they find peace in life and happiness. And I hope they find that they don't need a safe space to exist in the world. I hope they understand that they can go out into the world and they can just learn how to cope with things, learn how to be stronger. We've all been brought down at some point in time by other people. We've all been teased, harassed, whatever you want to call it, beat up. It doesn't matter. I've hurt people. People have hurt me. And because of all that, I've grown and become a better person. And hopefully that's what can happen with these folks, because are their parents involved? I mean, I know this is California, so it's a very liberal area. Their parents are probably a bunch of pot smoking hippies that, oh yeah, man, just love is love, and do what you want, man. And it doesn't serve your kids right. We need parents to be parents, not friends. So that's the end of my thing today. Go ahead, leave a like on the video down below if you found this interesting at all, and let me know your feelings too. I mean, like I said, I don't want to dunk on these people, but I just want to address this issue and how it ties into the greater scheme of things in gaming, because gaming is really in the toilet right now. There's a lot of reasons for it, and this mentality is one of them. And when you look at it as intimately as this article does, you feel for them, right? I feel for them. I look at them, I'm like, yeah, it's easy to dunk on the movement overall and to take a crap over DEI and all that. I'll do it every day, 100% of the time. But when you see the people, it's a little different. You hear their stories. No one wants people to hurt. No one wants people to suffer. But I'd love to see people learn how to cope and get stronger. That's the thing. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Ring that bell for notifications. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, peace.